iPad just flipped upside down.
That's funny. So we've got Texas here. We've got Iowa. We have
Missouri.
We have Missouri. So
one question came in about the basic requirements to get a diver's license. I'm assuming we'll cover that during the talk, a little bit about how to become a diver.
Yeah, and if there's any questions that you have that we haven't covered, if you go to the chat and you type in your questions as we go, we're happy to answer the questions. So, so just some of the basic requirements are you need to swim or snorkel, and there's like a couple of swim tests, but they're pretty easy. You have to pass a medical test or you have to check with that to make sure that you're fit for diving. And once that is, there's an online program that you do, and then together with Diventures, you would start your pool work. And there's a series of pool sessions and online sessions that you do, and then you have open water dives. So it's actually really easy to learn to dive.
All right, well, it is 4:03, so I'm going to stop sharing this screen, maybe, and I'm going to let Annie take control here. I'd like to talk to everybody just for a second. I would like to say Diventures would like to welcome you to our next installment of Expert Talks. This particular one is with Miss Annie Crawley. Please be on mute if you are not talking. However, we do want interaction. So she might ask some questions. Please feel free to interact and engage. And if you're not comfortable talking over the phone, you can always group chat. Always ask your questions at any time in the group chat, and I can interrupt and ask Annie the questions if you're not comfortable with it. So please feel free to do that at any time. I'd like to introduce you to Annie Crawley. Annie believes that imagination is not child's play, it is that of the visionary. She's created a series of children's books and programs, which I have enjoyed over many years, and is a master storyteller with a mission of encouraging each of us to become a voice of the ocean. I have been lucky enough to know her for many, many years, and I've gone to several of her talks, and I had the honor of taking a private videography class from her many, many years ago. I can say with confidence we're in for a treat tonight, everybody. So please enjoy your conversation with Miss Annie Crawley. Thank you, Annie.
Oh, you're so welcome. So everybody just stand by while I go ahead and share my screen and get it all started. Just so everybody knows that for me, this is my superpower, breathing underwater. I love it. I love introducing other people to the ocean. And this week's presentation is more geared toward the next generation. I see some people on there that I also hope will join me next week, because I'm going to do another presentation next week. But this is family friendly and good for all ages. So this is me underwater, and these are my websites. I just thought I'd give you a way to contact me after this program if you have any questions that I didn't answer, if you're too shy to use the chat box. This is a selfie because it's really hard to believe when I do these Zoom presentations that I actually go underwater and I take the photos and videos that I'm going to be sharing with you. For those of you who don't know, the scuba equipment, people have to wear masks because we need air in front of our eyes. And then this piece of equipment is our regulator, and it's our breathing device. So scuba stands for self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. I thought I would share, oh, sorry. Can you hear me still?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Thumbs
Yes.
up if you can hear me. Somebody give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, good. Okay, so I thought I'd share some video, but I do know that sometimes with Zoom, it kind of tweaks a little bit. I've been all over the world diving, from Mexico to the Arctic. I've lived in Indonesia, the Philippines, Papua New Guinea. I don't have a favorite dive site. I think that the ocean is just the most incredible place on our planet. And once you slip below the surface, you experience another world. For us as scuba divers, recreational scuba divers, you're in the top 130 feet of water. And as you can see, a lot happens just below the surface of the sea. These are white-tip reef sharks, and this is a whole shiver of them. If you think about it, it's a pod of dolphins and it's a shiver of sharks. These are white-tip reef sharks, and we could tell a lot about sharks by the shapes of their body and their fins. This is the largest fish in the ocean. This is a whale shark, and whale sharks often feed on phytoplankton and zooplankton, microscopic animals. They open and close their mouth. It was much to my surprise when I jumped in the water to go diving with these, actually we were snorkeling with this school of sardines, and there was a juvenile whale shark there waiting for us. So today I thought I would share with you just a few of my favorite experiences from under the water, and then let you ask questions about it. For me, of course, turtles are some of my favorite animals on the planet, as are porcupine pufferfish. These are porcupine pufferfish. When they get scared, they'll blow up. This is a manta ray. This is right here playing hide and seek with my friend Edgar. I'll talk to you more about this in a little bit. And I think some of my favorite memories are swimming with humpback whales, mamas and babies. It's a pretty incredible experience under the sea. The mamas travel thousands of miles. There's two different populations of humpback whales. One feeding grounds is in Antarctica and the other is in the Arctic, and they travel to the equator to different spots around the equator to give birth and reproduce. So without further ado, I'd just like to point out to you that I do have a YouTube channel that is family friendly as well. And over the course of the last couple of months, we've been posting a lot of videos that are really appropriate for the next generation and for teachers and parents as well to share with your kids. So I just mentioned that to you, that my YouTube channel is Annie Crawley, and I have another one that's Ocean Annie TV. So if the video is not playing so well on your screens right now, know that after this presentation, you could go and check out more videos. As you heard, I did start creating children's products about the ocean back in 2005 because the ocean is underrepresented in education and it's misrepresented by the media, often misrepresented. And so I had an idea, and Ocean Life A to Z was my first book and DVD. And since that time, I have an entire series out, and we're working on another one right now called Planet Ocean: Why We All Need a Healthy Ocean. So if you want to learn more about that, you can text me about those or in the chat box. But this is how it all started. This is my first swimming pool, and it's in my backyard. And some of you who are from Missouri and Iowa and in the Midwest, this is me in Chicago. So I was born and raised in Chicago. Why don't you guess which one I am? Many people guess Julie, the one in the yellow. That's my cousin. I'm the girl who's the blonde one with the seahorse on her bathing suit. And this is my swimming pool now. This is a baby humpback whale. And it's once they get to be a certain age, we kind of call them crazy babies because they get really active, and the mothers feed the babies, and then the mothers have to rest because the mothers don't feed the entire time during their migration. So it's pretty exciting. to be in the water with these humpback whales. So I truly believe that you can do anything. I didn't learn to scuba dive until after college. So all of you who are younger and thinking about taking the plunge now, I'm going to encourage you. And I know we have swim instructors, and we have some of you that are just starting out with swim lessons right now. In order to scuba dive, you do need to learn how to swim. But I was just like you. I rode horses on vacation. I was in school musicals and plays. I was a brownie and a Girl Scout. And I did many of the things that you do. But when I found the ocean, it changed my life. Now, many people don't know this, but you can actually learn to scuba dive at the age of 10. You can try scuba before you're 10 years old, but you can actually take a course at 10 years old. We were talking about one of the people on the call, Juliana. She's doing her checkout dives tomorrow, and the water temperature's in the 60s, and she's gonna wear a 5 mil wetsuit. Where I learn and teach these kids, we're learning in cold water, and they're all learning how to dive in dry suits. So a dry suit is something that puts air next to your body instead of water. And this is what we look like once we have our tanks on and all of our equipment. And so if you want to learn more about dry suits, I know that Diventures can share with you much more. If you have questions, just make sure you put them in the chat box. So we have a dive team here, and we treat diving as an elite sport. And all of these kids and teens that I work with, we do a lot of different programs that encourage all of our kids and teens to find their voice and to become the voice of the ocean, because without people, the ocean has no voice. So I just thought I'd show you what it would be like to dive here in the cold water in the Pacific Northwest. So there's these giant sea lions that come down from the Arctic, from Alaska, from British Columbia, and they come down following the herring. This is a ratfish and a lingcod. Those fish can grow 5 feet long. We don't have coral reefs here, but we do have these gardens of plumose sea anemones. Eelgrass is very, very important for carbon exchange, as is our entire ocean. So everything that we do on land impacts our sea. And so I hope this gives you a feeling of what it might be like to dive here. The kids and teens, a lot of them have cameras and use GoPros. How Joanna, I taught her photo and video. I love teaching photo and video to other people, because I want everybody to take images and video of our ocean and share it with their friends and family. And often there's lots of photo and video contests that people can enter as well. And I think that this is one of the ways that we get to share the experiences of scuba diving with other people. There's only 1% of our population that actually knows how to scuba dive. And so it's really important that we share stories. This is an egg yolk jelly, and this is a lion's mane jelly. A lot of people are scared of jellies, and there's a lot of myths around them. You can get really close to them. You're gonna see Abby, who's one of my divers. She's gonna be a modeling, come right next to it. So jellies don't come and grab you. They float in the water column, and they move their bell like this. They have no eyes, no ears, but they're voracious predators, but they float in the ocean. This is Adam and Santi, and they wanted to show you how big sea stars can grow. These sea stars love to eat giant clams, but these guys can grow over 1 meter across. It's pretty spectacular. And these are ratfish, which are in the Chimera family, which is a cross between bony fish and sharks and rays, elasmobranchs. So that gives you a kind of idea of what it's like to dive here in our waters. But scuba diving taught me the unbelievable was real. And this image is a picture of a squid. So if you eat calamari, this is what you're eating. So I always say fish are my friends. So if you don't mind grabbing your passport right now, I'm going to take you on a journey, and we're going to go to the South Pacific. And this is the map that I used to look at when I was a little girl on my grandma's wall. She had in her kitchen a big world map, and I used to look at it and dream of all the places I was going to travel to. So we're going to get in a very small plane, and then we're going to see these reefs from the sky. And if you could see the boat down on the bottom of the picture, we're going to jump on a boat, and we're going to go out, and we're going to start looking for whale spots. And so you all need to have really good eyes, because we're looking for a blow on the horizon. And if you're lucky, we're going to find one, and it's going to cooperate, and we're going to jump right in jump right in. I think that we have one of our guys drawing on his iPad there that is affecting my screen. I don't know how that is happening, but I think, Joanne,
I'm going to see if,
have to
yep, I'll work on that.
There.
I'll work on getting that off.
So I don't know who's doing that, but yes, very good. Thank you so much. So we're gonna, this is what it looks like on the surface, and then you never know what kind of gift the ocean is gonna give us. And so it could be sardines with a whale shark, or it could be striped marlin. Now, everybody always wants to know what's one of my favorite experiences, and this is definitely one of my favorite experiences, was being in the water with these striped marlins. Hey, Joanne, do you think you can help out there?
I'm trying to figure that out. Whoever is drawing on that.
Be, I don't know what's going on there, but somebody's drawing on their iPad or their screen. And you we can all see it. So you probably, or am I the only one who could see it?
Nope, I can see it too. So I'm trying to figure out how to turn that off, and I don't know how to turn it off. But we would ask everyone to stop doing that, please.
So I'm not sure who's doing it, but so this is what it feels like when you jump over the side of the boat and you're looking to go for striped marlins. They move really quick, but they are exact with their sword. So they actually use it, and I've seen them shish kebab the sardines, and they're really, really incredible to watch. So people always want to know what my favorite animals are. So these are just a few of my favorites. Manta rays are pretty incredible as well. This is my friend. I'm going to just show you this. So I was working with some scientists, and they were going to take some samples. And the way that these giant manta rays are coming in for a cleaning station. And so one of the divers is assigned to blow bubbles to keep the manta ray in place. And so that was my friend Edgar. And then the scientist was able to take his tissue sample. And we were studying if microplastics go up the food web into the mantas. So incredible animals, from stargazers to hairy frogfish, which are fish that fish for fish. They throw their lure out like this, and they're hoping another fish comes, and then they swallow it whole. This is a purple hairy squat lobster. If you look at your thumbnail, that's how large these grow. This is not Photoshop. That is the color of the animal. And if you look at this animal, this is a pink pygmy seahorse. If you look at your baby pinky fingernail, that's how big these grow full grown, and the male seahorses get pregnant. And so it's a pretty incredible place under the water. This is a wobbegong shark, which is a carpet shark, and you could see the frill underneath its head there. And I thought that I'd share with you just a little bit from here, which this is a coral reef, and corals are some of my favorite places in the ocean. They only cover about 1% of the ocean, but more than 25% of species in the ocean need the coral reefs. So here's a turtle feeding, and I'm gonna show you, a couple of other animals here. So this is gonna be the coral, they love to eat these sponges that live in dark areas. And then next up, we're gonna see a frogfish. And so this is its lure that it throws out to attract prey. So you could see that there. That's how it fishes for fish. And these are nudibranchs, which means naked gills, a lionfish, a flamboyant cuttlefish. So these are all really, really cool animals. Watch the flamboyant cuttlefish when it gets startled. It's scaring off these puffer fish, and it changes colors like that. We all love clownfish and sea anemones. And I'm gonna fast forward. Oh, here's some shrimp, Coleman shrimp that live in fire urchins. And here's a mantis shrimp with eggs. So ornate ghost pipefish, just amazing creatures. And here is that wobbegong shark again. And I just know that everybody loves sharks. So I have quite a few sharks in here. So I actually was able to film this both in the coral reef using camouflage and then laying in the sand. So they changed their colors, and these fish, oh, don't blink your eye. It kind of acts like a vacuum cleaner and sucked in the fish. So here's the camouflaged shark right here. Can you see the shark on the screen and find it? And this is, scientists use cameras, and scientists need to use cameras in order to find different animals and then record them. So some scientists are setting up GoPro cameras 24 hours a day so they can monitor different sites. And so it's amazing how much technology is being used for research and science. So right now, I would like you to be scientists. Do you see these fish on the nose of the shark? Okay, you're all nodding your head. So now I'm gonna play this video or parts of this video, and I'm gonna ask you, we're going night diving. Oh my gosh, night diving is my favorite kind of diving, where we carry lights with us, but now I have my lights off because I'm trying to see what everybody else is doing. So the sharks are there, and then stingrays are coming out to feed, and then, oh my gosh, what's happening here? So now what's going on is this nurse shark has these pilot fish, and they're under its fins. And then there's these giant jacks. So if you have a chat box and you can put in the chat box, what do you think these fish are doing? And what do you think the shark is doing? So maybe you could help me monitor the chat box there and see if anybody can guess what they think is happening here with the nurse sharks. So
far, nobody has typed anything. Does anybody have a guess?
So what do we know about fish in the ocean? It's a fish eat fish world under the sea. They go to cleaning stations to get cleaned. They do a lot of different things under the ocean. They use camouflage. They try and hide.
There's a couple of guesses right now. So
okay.
We've got hiding from other fish, maybe cleaning the shark. A bunch of people are wondering about cleaning the shark.
Yeah, so there's cleaners on the reef. There are different fish that clean animals, and animals migrate and they go to cleaning stations as well. And they'll hide, or they'll line up actually like a car wash to get cleaned. So cleaning stations are very special and unique on the reef, the way that we brush our teeth and take showers and floss our teeth. But do those fish look like they're trying to clean the shark? So if they were cleaners, they would be nipping at the shark and trying to remove scales and dead skin. if you look closely at those other big fish, those are jacks, those fish look like they're trying to eat the fish, right? They look like they're trying to get underneath the shark. So people who were guessing that could be a really good observation. And then did somebody say it looks like they are protecting the fish? So when I was filming this at first, I was like, wow, look at that shark. He's trying to protect those fish, right? From those big bad jacks. So when we do that, we anthropomorphize. We are putting what we know as humans, because we all protect one another, right? So we're assuming that these sharks are trying to protect the fish. But if you look a little bit closer, they're trying to take their fins and they're trying to move those fish a little bit closer. And those nurse sharks are like vacuum cleaners. They're bottom feeders. Their mouth is on the underside, and they eat things like queen conch. They love queen conch, and they have powerful jaws that they can suck up what's inside and then crunch the shell. And so these sharks were actually trying to push them forward to vacuum them up themselves, which is quite a different perspective. And so this is how I said to you, scientists sometimes use film. They will record things for many periods of time and let the camera be the observer and then watch them for the different behaviors that you can observe. So photography and film work is used not only to create stories about the ocean, but it's actually used for observations as well. Pretty cool there. You know, when I go diving though, you know, everything we do on land affects the ocean, and it's not only animals that I see now. We have this huge problem with plastic and carbon pollution and different kinds of pollution that doesn't belong in the ocean. So the way that animals eat jellies, turtles like jellies, a lot of animals and fish like jellies. If you were an animal and ate jellies and then you saw a plastic bag, you might not know it's plastic, because plastic is a people product and only people can be the solution to this. And so I just thought that I would share with you a few things that are happening in our water. And it's not only in the ocean, it's in the lakes, rivers, and streams all around your homes. If you are a good investigator, if you go out to your backyard and walk around your block, I bet you'll see some of these things right around your block. As the rain falls, as the snow falls and melts, everything makes its way to our lakes, rivers, and streams. And the crazy thing about our ocean is, everybody take a deep breath in with me and take a deep breath out. Every breath you take connects you to the ocean, because the phytoplankton mass in the ocean is responsible for 50 to 70% of the oxygen in every breath we take. So if you are if you don't have to be a brain surgeon to know that there's something wrong with this picture. And so everything that we do on land gets washed in the ocean. And right now, scientists are predicting that in a very short period of time, that there could be more plastic in the ocean than fish by weight. So people are working all around the world to stop the flow of pollution into the ocean. I know Diventures works hard on cleanups and different things, as do we here in the Pacific Northwest, as do kids in Indonesia. It's really important that we think of solutions to all of these problems that we have that are happening. So turtles are some of my favorite ocean animals. And what happened is, if turtles eat colorful reef animals and birds eat colorful reef animals like squid, you know the squid I showed you? Oh yes, a lot of birds love to eat squid. And if they eat these plastic and they think it's their natural food, they can get sick and even die. And so it's really important that we understand the impact that we're having on the birds and the whales and the other animals. And I know that we're better than this. I know we are. This is a group that I worked with in Indonesia. For those of you who've been diving in Lembe, this is Helen from Lembe Foundation and Critters at Lembe. I lived in Indonesia for 3 years, working in various places all across the island. And so this is us cleaning up. And so I'm going to encourage you, sorry about this, I'm going to encourage you to do a 30-day challenge with Diventures and refuse single-use plastic for 30 days. Because if you start becoming aware of how much it is around you, you're going to want to start taking action. And so now we're writing letters to corporations. We're going to our city council and we're asking for laws to be changed because we have to protect our ocean friends, because there's a lot of things in the ocean that don't belong. This picture is called Creepy Baby Doll, and it's pretty creepy, don't you think? Take a look at that. So I know that kids all over the world unite for the ocean, and I hope you will too, because this is what's really happening. And we have to be the voice for the whale sharks, the manta rays, the turtles, and all of the other animals. And so Diventures and me are going to ask you to become the voice of the ocean, to join our team. You just have to agree to become the voice of the ocean, because without you, our ocean has no voice. And so it's really important, and just know that there's all these different ways you can get a hold of me, but this is what we love. We love our ocean. I would like to open this up for questions, and I have other photos and videos that I could share if you come out with, questions about different animals that I haven't answered. But I'd really like to hear from you about what are things that you can do, or what would you like to learn more about with learning to dive, because we want to encourage all of our young ocean enthusiasts, whether you're 15 years old, 25 years old, or 5 years old. We want you to know that when you're ready to take the plunge, that we're here for you. So do we have questions that we could monitor on the?
Yep, I have a couple questions already. If you guys have questions or things that you would like to say, go ahead and send them in the text. But I'll give you a couple of them that we have already. So you talked about, what is the difference between a marlin and a sailfish? Because they look similar.
So they do look really similar. When you see them side by side, and I don't think in this presentation I have them side by side, but a sailfish has a great big sail that when, so let me see if I can find a picture here that I could show you what, oh my gosh, I can't. Oh, you know what? You have to give me the control back, I think, Joanne.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. Let me see if I could find a dorsal fin picture. Sorry, really quick. And it might be that I have to go back through this. All fish have dorsal fins. And if I go, and we learn how to identify fish by the dorsal fin. So here on this picture, if you could see, this striped marlin's dorsal fin is up. And it's up and there's this purple sheen on it. It's just a beautiful fish. If this was a sailfish, there would be something that this dorsal fin would be a huge sail. And you could definitely tell the difference between the two fish when they're side by side. If the dorsal fins are down, it's harder to tell the difference. And so people who have done the Fish ID specialty course or any of the underwater naturalist courses that are offered through your dive centers, you learn a lot about fish identification through the shapes of the fish. And one of the other ones, I'm just looking for this other photo that I was going to show you. Through the, maybe it's not here. Maybe it'll be in here. I'll start this and I'll just freeze it on something. The shapes of the tails are important too. Like these are fork tails. Do you see the fork in the tail here? And then other tails, and this one is rounded. So there's the yellow ones where forks in the tails. Now this has a different shape fin. So once you start diving, what happens is the more you know about the animals you're diving with, the more fun and enjoyable it is. And so when you know how to identify the different kinds of sharks, and you know how to identify the different kinds of fish, and you know the behaviors of the animal, you actually enjoy the sport a lot more.
Definitely.
So thank you.
That's
for
definitely
that
true.
Yes.
There's a question that kind of adds on to that. We see in cartoons swordfish. Is that an actual fish or just a nickname?
So no, swordfish. So sailfish, swordfish, and striped marlin are three of the different kinds of fish that have those long, protruding noses and snouts that they use for fishing. So no, that's a kind of fish. But
Yeah.
the way that the cartoons portray them are often based on maybe what happens in the ocean, but I know that there's cartoons that show hammerhead sharks with a hammerhead, and like a hammer, and it's not a hammerhead, but it's, and so hammerhead sharks actually evolved with eyeballs on the side of their heads. And scientists only discovered about 10 years ago that the reason why the hammerhead sharks have these eyeballs on the sides of their heads is because they can see 360 degrees in a circle, like all the way around. So could you imagine if your teachers had eyes in back of their heads? That's what a hammerhead shark is like. They have eyes in back of their heads. They could see 360 degrees.
Yeah, very cool. What is the biggest fish you've ever seen in the ocean?
Oh, I shared it with you. Who remembers? There's the biggest fish in the ocean is actually a whale shark. So people get confused on that. So whale sharks are not whales. Whale sharks are fish. So what makes a fish a fish? So fishes have fins. They have scales or certain kind of skin. They are ectotherms. And so whales and mammals are warm-blooded. They have hair, at least when they're young. Some marine mammals have hair all their life, but the whale shark is definitely a fish. And sharks have 5, 6, or 7 sets of gills, where fish often just have one set of gill, but fish can have different kinds of gill slits. So the gills are what makes the fish a fish.
Very nice. This is interesting. I'm curious about this one myself. How would you answer, are any of the creatures in the water vegetarians?
Oh my gosh, of course, yes.
What do you think about
There's
that?
herbivores. So the herbivores are vegetarians and they eat algae. So one of, and parrotfish, it looks like they actually, they crunch coral, but they're actually crunching the coral and they're going after the zooxanthellae that live within the coral. So, yeah, so there's a lot, damselfish. There's so many different animals that are fish that are herbivores. There's herbivores, there's piscivores. Piscivores are fish that fish for other fish. And then there's omnivores, which will eat whatever is abundant. So there's lots of different kinds of fish in the sea and animals. And you know, the big baleen whales, they feed on zooplankton and then krill. They're definitely not just vegetarians because they like that krill floating around.
Are all of these your pictures and videos that you have taken?
So yeah, so most of the images that I have to give a shout out to my friend Steve, who took this picture of me. His name is Steve Woods. And a lot of times I travel and I lead groups and teach photo and video. I travel with my dive team, but a lot of times I travel as well with other photographers and filmmakers. And, you know, it's so hard to get good photos and video of
Annie,
yourself.
I think I lost your voice.
Oh, I don't know what happened. Can you hear me?
Does everybody else hear her?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Good.
Oh, so it's you. And then this picture was taken by Hergen, one of my other friends. And so, but like this picture I took as a selfie. But so I do travel with other people and who take photos and video of me sometimes as well. So thanks for that question. But all the other photos and video that I showed you in this presentation, if I'm not in it, they're photos and video that I've taken. So I just love the ocean. And then I love creating stories about it to share it with people like you.
Still have a couple more questions. Can you hear underwater? Can you hear anything?
Yeah, but so I have a really great video that I'd love to encourage you to watch on your own. It's called A Mother's Tale, and it's about humpback whales in Tonga. And I bring a hydrophone with me when I go diving, because when I shoot with my camera, let me go back to the picture of my camera. This one, the sound is sometimes muffled inside of the camera. And so what I try to do is I drop a hydrophone in the water to capture the natural sounds of the ocean that I'm at. So when you're underwater, sound travels quicker underwater than on air. And when you're diving, okay, some of us we're nervous sometimes when we start diving and all we hear is our bubbles. But for me, I'm so comfortable under the water that when I dive, I hear the sounds of the reef. And so there's like as the water goes over the coral reefs, you could hear the crunching of the coral. You could hear whales and dolphins sometimes. And so my camera doesn't do such a good job of recording this sound. So I bring a hydrophone to record the sound of the ocean.
Very cool. I always am very amazed. For me, you hear the turtles when the turtles are eating and they eat the coral, and we hear a crunch, crunch, crunch. I always think that's interesting.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's amazing what happens. You can also, okay, so when you're in a feeding frenzy or you're with a school of fish, you can actually hear the school of fish. And when you're filmmaking, if you look at Discovery Channel or you watch the BBC or you watch things like this, an entire specialized sounds are called Foley. And there's ways that people create the sounds of the ocean on land in what we call post-production that is not the same as recording the animals under the sea. So some of the nature programs that you watch, people are creating the sound for the fish, but for all of us who participate in those kinds of programs, you're creating that sound to be as if that's what it would sound like underwater. The snapping of a shrimp, mantis shrimp, there's spear mantis shrimp, and then there's smasher mantis shrimp with their fists, and you can actually hear them make noises as well. So yeah, so it's really cool to listen to the sounds of the sea. And of course, the sound of the ocean and river and waters. There is, one of my other friends does Blue Mind Science, Wallace J. Nichols. If you don't know his work, I'd encourage you read his book, Blue Mind. I have a blue mind. We all have blue hearts, right? And ocean souls. We feel good when we're around water. We feel better when we walk to the stream that's outside of our houses, or when we go to the lake and we just breathe that air, or the quarry. Like, water and people, they go hand in hand. We're water people. Like,
very cool.
We shouldn't be called planet Earth. We should be called planet Ocean, because the ocean covers 70% of our planet. Somebody got it wrong.
I love that. Remember to keep asking questions if you have any more, because I think I only have one more, And the last one that I have right now is, how big do manta rays get? You showed some manta rays.
Oh my gosh. I think the biggest manta ray that I saw that clocked in was more than a ton. That was the biggest one I saw. There's a few different kinds of species of manta rays. So there's manta rays that are near the reef, but the ones that are the largest are the oceanic manta rays. And I just saw a stat that they grow up to 25 feet across. That's the largest of this type of manta ray. And manta rays are amazing animals to be in the ocean with. The ones that I showed you with Edgar, where he was blowing the bubbles up and they were settling over, those are the oceanic mantas. So those are the reason why we call them oceanic and not reef mantas is those are mantas that will migrate for long distances through the ocean.
That's awesome. The one question for you, what is the most memorable underwater experience you've had? Take us on the dive of your most memorable experience.
Oh my gosh. What are you guys doing tomorrow?
I heard somebody's getting certified. So
yeah, somebody's getting certified. No, I make a joke because my favorite dive is always the next one I'm going to be on. I'd say that I'd say that two of my favorite experiences are snorkeling with humpback whales and other large animals. I really do like free diving and snorkeling with large animals. I spent 3 months in Galapagos working, and I'd say that Galapagos has a little piece of my heart. Darwin's Arch. Palau, Jellyfish Lake was the first time that I swam with jellies in this kind of way. You could see them in different areas, but that is a very special place as well. I think that learning to dive in Australia, that's where I learned to dive. And I love the Great Barrier Reef, the Maldives. Some place that I have not yet dived yet. I was supposed to go last year and the trip got canceled. But I want to dive with beluga whales and narwhals. So those are on high on my wish list of places I still want to go. But it's really hard to choose one of my favorite places. And the Philippines, oh my gosh, just ornate ghost pipefish and all the crazy creatures that you find in muck diving, frogfish. Oh my gosh, they're such funny looking fish. One thing I will tell you though, is I'm a behaviorist. So I really like spending time in one place with the same animals because then you get to know their behavior and their pattern.
Very cool. Well, so, and add on to that, has there ever been a moment when you were worried while diving next to some of those great big creatures like the whales or sharks? Were you ever nervous?
So this is really funny. So I don't get nervous about any of the animals. Sometimes I get nervous with the other divers. So I'm going to encourage you all to continue your education. And if you're an open water diver, consider, all the different specialties that you're going to do to get advanced, and that you always put that you're going to become a rescue diver or a dive professional on your map, even if you're not working in the industry, because those courses give you so much knowledge that it makes you comfortable in the water. And so whenever I've been with dangerous per se animals, it's because when you shoot for like sharks for Shark Week and this sort of thing, you don't realize that sometimes they're chumming in the water. Or if you're wanting to go and dive with great white sharks, what the operators are doing is they're adding fish blood and guts to the water to attract the animals, but then people go into the cage, right? So it's still safe because you know that you're changing the behavior of the animal by attracting it to come in. So for me, I've never been scared of the animals, just of other people that I don't have control of, in the water. So that means go and do your continuing education classes and think about the different certifications that you need to make you feel really comfortable in the water. when you learn to dive, when you're learning to walk or you're learning to swim, it's something that you have to practice. And when you're learning to scuba dive, you know, just because you get your scuba certification doesn't mean that you're an expert. And so you really need to take classes with instructors that can teach you lots of tips and tricks to be comfortable in the water.
Perfect. Have you ever been cage diving?
Cave diving, yes. I have my cave diving certification and also cavern diving. To go cave diving, it's very meticulous. And the way that you all have Florida very close to you, where you're at right now, where I live, the cave and cavern diving that I do usually is in Mexico. And so I think that if we had caves and caverns closer to us, that I would do more of it. But I do love cave and cavern diving. There's something very special about it. But it's not something that I'm doing on a regular basis because of the accessibility that I have and where I have it.
What is the deepest depth that you feel comfortable diving?
So the deepest depth for recreational scuba diving is 130 feet. But I'm a technical diver as well, so I've been diving deeper than 130 feet. But I'll tell you that the majority of my diving is in much shallower depths because of how light penetrates the surface and where the animals are living that we are. And so, you know, for me, it's not about how deep you're diving. It's really about what animals are you looking for and what depth are they living at. And when we're deeper diving, we just have to use special procedures to dive. Okay. But I also like diving shallower too, because you get much longer bottom times.
Yeah. The last one that I've got is with sharks. Have you been cage diving?
Yes, cage diving for sure. And I've been to Mexico cage diving, and I have not. The trip I was supposed to do for blue sharks had gotten canceled. So I have been cage diving before. It's a very bizarre thing, and I recommend, if people have an interest in sharks, that everybody tries it. You know, like some people love it. For me, it's the wackiest thing in the world, because you're on the boat, you want to jump off the boat into the water, and you can't. The only place you could enter the water is into the cages. And so it's a really, really bizarre experience on many different levels, not only because you're usually seeing, you know, these apex predators that you're bringing in because you're chumming the water, but then you can't just go for a swim because you're changing their behavior. So I think that in Mexico, it's become very popular, Guadalupe Island, because there's 100-foot of visibility. It's really beautiful when you go in the water there. It's gorgeous. And for people who are shark lovers like myself, it's a must do, but it's still very bizarre. Very bizarre.
Yeah, sure. Sounds like it. Well, I would like to tell everyone that we have Annie's doing another talk for us next Wednesday, and it's going to be focused on cameras, photos, videography. So we had a couple of comments about your camera setup looks really cool, and we'll learn more about that next Wednesday when we talk with Annie again. Annie, I would love to say thank you. This was a blast. I learned a lot, and I very much enjoyed your time. Thank you.
Oh, no, I appreciate it all. And for anybody who's going to join again, just so you guys know, if your kids and teens want to join, my presentations are always, you know, family friendly, ready. But if you do have, I was just thinking about this, and if you're joining again next week and you have specific questions, it would be great to hear some of the things that you would like me to cover. And I'm going to be talking about constant lighting and different things. These are light and motion lights, and a lot of the photos that you saw that I took are not with strobes. They're actually using constant light. And I will be showing different photos. Some of them might be the same if I'm talking about the specifics of them, but I'll be having different photos and video next week too.
Perfect. And I just put my email in the chat box. So if people have questions, if you don't know me, I'm Joanne Hawk, and that's my email. So go ahead, and if you have questions for next week, just send it in to me and we'll make sure we'll get them to Annie ahead of time.
And remember, you must become the voice of the ocean, because without you, our ocean has no voice. Thank you so much to Diventures for putting this together, and for all of the people out there who joined us and stayed with us. You know, if I didn't answer your question, or if you think one later, feel free to email me or text me or send me a note through one of my websites, and I'd love to hear from you. Oh, here, I'll just put those. I noticed a typo. It's Annie Crawley Photography at photo with not this. Oh, sorry. Typo. Why didn't anybody catch that? My assistant. Oh my gosh. I am my assistant right now. So,
There you
so
go.
this is one last thing I would like to say, Joanne, to everybody is that, you know, I know some of us are more stuck at home than others right now. And the place that I go to, no matter where I'm at, is to the water. And so I wish you water. I hope that you know that when you go underwater and you breathe underwater with a mask and snorkel, or a mask and a regulator, it really does change your life. And if we have people on the call who've never thought about it before, I'd really encourage you to do a try scuba as soon as you can. So with that, I wish you water.
Thank you. I wish you water as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.